you. Thank you. This is the antidote to turning on the TV and wondering what was tweeted this morning or whatever else came out. And it's the antidote because the privilege of being here is literally something that billions of people around the world could only dream of. Gathering as free women and men to determine how we live our lives and how we govern our lives. And your participation here speaks volumes for the optimism, and I am grateful for that. I would note we're joined today, I don't know if we got pointed out, Marge Hoff, our deputy chair of the state party, is here. No one works harder for us than Marge, so thank you. Everywhere. He is everywhere. I'm Tim Walz. I'm a public school geography teacher from Mankato West High School. My wife works in the district down there. I'm dad to Hope, age 17, and Gus, a 5th grader at Roosevelt Elementary School, 11-year-old. I grew up in a small farming community where I graduated with 24 classmates, 12 of whom were cousins in my class. My mother still lives on that farm. It's been in our family 131 years. I had incredible public school teachers and an opportunity to have that ladder of success to get to a public university where we could get an education. I started my teaching career on Pine Ridge, teaching 4th grade at Wolf Creek Elementary, and was part of the first group of American high school teachers to teach high school in the People's Republic of China. I also, my father, a Korean War veteran, took me down the day after my 17th birthday, and I joined the Army, in the Army National Guard. I spent 24 years doing that, and retired as a command sergeant major in the Minnesota Army National Guard. So, one person in here knows I took the demotion to Congress from sergeant major, so I appreciate that. I serve as the Democrats in the United States Congress. I served 1st District of Minnesota for the last 12 years. I proudly do that. And I tell you this, there's 10 rural Democrats left in America. The district I represent has had myself and one other Democrat in the last 125 years. My district was the 2nd most Republican district in America until 3 weeks ago when Conor Lamb won, and now I'm the 3rd most Republican because the blue wave is coming. It is coming. And we ran in the 1st District on our progressive values. We ran on the ideas that at the heart and center of things was the right to collectively bargain in labor. As a proud union family, understanding the dignity of work and the dignity of a guaranteed defined benefit pension plan in living our life is what kept my mother going after my father died when I was in high school, my little brother was in elementary school. Those smart investments that were made. And we ran on this idea that people can make their own choices on who they marry, and women can make their own choices on their health care, and that we can lead into issues and reject the false choices. I represent the 9th largest agricultural district in America, and we are the DFL, and I am proud that the president of the Minnesota Corn Growers did a video for me recently endorsing us. I'm also proud that I have a 97% voting record with the League of Conservation Voters. These are false choices that are put on us for political reasons to divide this state, both economically, racially, and geographically. And this is the party that can unify this state, not just to win elections, but to move progressive values forward that improve communities. And that's why, along with my friend and partner and state legislator Peggy Flanagan, we are running for governor and lieutenant governor of Minnesota because we believe in one Minnesota where every child has the opportunity to succeed, regardless of zip code, regardless of economic background, regardless of race, regardless of religion. We believe in a Minnesota where every person who's most impacted by the decisions we make has a seat at the table to make those. We believe in a Minnesota carrying on the record in Congress of where I voted for the ACA, adding millions of people to health care, that health care is a basic human right, and in this state, every single person should have access to universal health care. Good quality health care, affordable health care. And we believe in a politics that can create new incentives to bring people in, can get by the hardest issues facing us, can tackle those issues that lead to that Minnesota horizon, and we're not afraid to dive into them. We have to figure out how do we farm, feed the world, fuel the world, and clothe the world. We are at the epicenter of that, but we cannot do it at the expense of clean water. We have to figure out if we need minerals to build a clean energy economy, we have to talk about it not at the expense of clean water. This is a state that has found solutions to the toughest problems. This is a state that comes together to solve problems. I am proud in Congress to consistently be rated as one of the most effective and bipartisan. Bipartisan doesn't mean compromising our values. I'm one of the 58 who voted to impeach this guy in the United States House, bringing you up. I will not normalize that behavior, but I will bring our friends in. I will bring them in to solve problems. And these are the toughest issues we solve, and I get this. I grew up in my family hunting. I grew up around firearms. I grew up at a time when the NRA was sane, unlike they are now. I grew up at a time when we could strike a balance between the safety of our children in schools and the ability to make sure that you have your Second Amendment right. So I will bring those folks together, and I am proud that people want to build coalitions like this. I'm proud to have received the gun census distinction from the Moms Demand Action, because they realize there is a space in there for folks who support the Second Amendment and still protect our children in schools. Understanding, I was around it for 25 years. There's no sense in having a weapon of war in our schools, but you can hunt deer with your family in a way that gets together. Those are things we can accomplish. We believe in these things together. We're a Minnesota that has carved out a lifestyle that is not just a cold agrarian state. It's a progressive state where people's lives are improved. It's a progressive state where our politics work. It's a progressive state where our neighbors share our values and we make those things happen. So I ask you to join the tens of thousands of labor organizations, from the laborers to the carpenters to the sheet metal workers to the Teamsters to the interfaculty organization of our colleges and universities, to Walter Mondale, to Jamie Becker-Finn, to former Mayor R.T. Ryback, who have joined this campaign, and the resources necessary. It is not good enough to want to beat Tim Paulini in November. It is not good enough to say we're going to do that. Whether it was taking a team to the state championship in football, training a unit to deploy in defense of this nation, or winning in a Republican district 6 times on progressive values, we know that tomorrow's April Fool's Day, well, the joke will be on this state. If ever again that guy touches this state or this decision we made, never again will we prioritize tax cuts over children. Never again will we allow him to put personal ambition over the health care of our citizens, and never again will budget gimmicks lead to failing infrastructure in this state when we know we can make those investments. So I ask you to try and earn your support. I ask you to join us on this. I ask you to do so joyfully and optimistically, because that's who we are. And I'll take any questions you got. I knew it was going fast. He told me. I'm watching. I'm watching. I'll come. Yes, sir.
What are your plans for bringing the northern part of the state back into the BFL fold so we don't lose the governorship or lose the District 8 up there?
That's right. You're talking to one of the 10 people who's won, and I would argue the most progressive, that has been able to win in these districts by uniting people together. We won 7 of the 8 congressional districts in the straw poll. We're building an organization necessary. The division on the range is being fostered by folks who think that it's incompatible to talk about labor rights and the ability of a family to earn a decent living and the idea of environmental protectionism. My goal on this is that we are a party of science. We follow the science, we follow permitting processes. There's nothing we're going to do that is going to endanger our clean water. There's nothing that's going to endanger those pristine environments. But we need to talk about how do we as a state continue to foster job growth, continue to build the new energy economy, continue to move away from carbon future. And what I would say is there's a history, whether it is getting the corn growers and the Sierra Club to sit down together, whether it's the ability to be able to bring folks who are lawful gun owners to those who want to make sure we have safe schools. Those things are things that I have done. And up there, it's about talking to people's value. They share the value of hard work and a decent living. They share the value of our clean water. And to try, you cannot govern the state of Minnesota by dividing the state. You cannot govern the state of Minnesota by continuing to find differences among us. My goal is to bring us there, be driven by science, be driven by those core values, and find solutions that work. Yes, ma'am?
I'm a teacher, and what are your thoughts and plans for the new tiered system for licensing teachers in Minnesota?
Well, first of all, licensure. Last year when they started to try and weaken the licensure system, the first thing I did was tweet out a picture of my license. Content knowledge is important, but the art of teaching has that licensure, making sure that we have the best quality people in there. And let's be clear, we don't have a problem getting this. Our goal is to keep and retain teachers. And here's my radical idea for education: funding. Before Tim Paulini, we used to spend 80% of higher ed was paid for by the state of Minnesota. It's 37% now. The issue in our schools is making sure that we target it to the best practices to ensure that we recruit and retain the best quality teachers. Our students are best prepared for the economy going forward, and we do so with an idea that we are going to attract talent from across the world to our college and universities. Here's the deal. Education is the heart and soul of opportunity. It is not a for-profit endeavor. We need to bring that back to the idea of what it is. Thank you all for having me. And again, those who say this agenda's too big, those who say we can't do these things, I remind people, and you're living right in the heart of it, we're people who drive on water in Minnesota. We can solve problems. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Walz. Again, I want to remind the convention floor that voting on